Hello, and welcome to another episode of Adamo Baseball, where I'm your host, Adamo. And in this episode, I'm going to be breaking down the Philadelphia Phillies, who I have finishing fourth. So, when I picked them to finish fourth, I kind of had some idea of what I was looking at. I didn't really have a full scope of it. And now that I've done my research and have at very least a better scope of it, I think I'm right. Look, they're top five in their batting order. Awesome, assuming they stay healthy. They got a couple of guys after that, pretty good, or at very least have been good. Pitching staff, outside of Aaron Nola and Brandon Kinsler, not so much. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get into this one, starting with the lineup because, well, why not? And honestly, I don't think this episode is going to take too long. Leading off, Andrew McCutchen, left field. Okay, he was the Pittsburgh Pirate for a long time. He was. He was like the best player that Pittsburgh's had since Roberto Clemente. I mean that. Well, then he started bouncing around the league a little bit. Went to the Giants, went to the Yankees, and he kept getting hurt. And he's in Philly. He's had that same injury bug. Hopefully he can stay healthy because I like him. I like watching this guy play. He's a fun player, both when he's just playing or when he's in the dugout just having fun with his buddies. He's just a fun player to watch. His thing is he's had trouble staying healthy, and look, it happens to a lot of great players. When he stays healthy, he's an all-star every year. He just has to stay healthy. Batting second, Rhys Hoskins, first base. Dude's a home run hitter. He has been one of their big guys for a lot of years now. And it only stands to reason that he'd have a really good year this year as well. Batting third, Bryce Harper, right field. So he can hit a lot of home runs. It's no secret that he has when it comes to power, he's got one of the best left-handed bats in the league. That's no secret. Won the MVP in 2015. After the 2018 season, leaves for a 13-year, $337 million contract in Philadelphia. Following season, his old team wins the World Series. Without him. His main issue is that he'll hit one deep and just assume it's gone. It'll hit the wall just below the yellow line. For my viewers and listeners who don't know, the yellow line marks the home run along the wall. That's complicated. And he'll hit the ball, it'll hit right below that, but because he was trotting around the bases, what should be a double, if not a triple, turns into a single. So, effort has been a problem for him throughout, recent years. I didn't watch him play last year, and frankly, his batting average hasn't exactly been all that great, mostly because pitchers have figured out that he's a pull hitter, so he's always going to try and take it over the right field wall. Batting cleanup, JT Realmuto, catcher. He's worth the money Philly paid to get him. He is. He's one of the best hitting catchers in baseball. Has been for a few years now. And he actually is pretty good at fielding too, because when you got those, you got a year-round, or you got a consistent year-by-year all-star, and there's no reason to think that he shouldn't do the same thing this year. Batting fifth, Didi Gregorius, shortstop. He's also had the injury bug throughout his career. When he's healthy, he is on. Like, he actually is one of the best shortstops in the league, but he has to stay healthy. And for Philly, that's been a problem for him. It was also a problem for him when he was in New York wearing pinstripes, too. So for him, it really does come down to, can he stay healthy for a whole season? I think he had to have Tommy John surgery, which is not common for shortstops. But, yeah, you have one of those, you're done for the season. And, yeah, if he can stay healthy, he's pretty good. Batting 6th, Alec Bohm, Bohm, third base. So he's actually only been in Philly for a couple of years. I think last year was his first year. And he actually had a pretty good showing. He's one of those guys that the WAR won't show it. It's like 0.7 or something, WAR standing for wins above replacement. Whereas you look at the actual stats themselves and it's like, he actually may be pretty talented. I don't know how good he is at fielding, so I couldn't tell you from that regard. But he's a pretty good hitting third baseman. Not necessarily for power, but he played 44 games last year, and his batting average, I think, was like 338. You want that from anybody. It doesn't matter what position they're playing. So, see if it was a fluke or if he actually is that talented. Batting 7th is not a guy I would naturally think would be batting 7th. Juan Segura, second base. He made his name in Seattle. He's been a pretty good player throughout his career. He's been a pretty good hitter. As far as I'm aware, he's a pretty good fielding second baseman. He left after, I think it was Robinson Cano. No, he got there after Robinson Cano left Seattle. So, yeah, Segura is actually a pretty good hitter. And frankly, hitting 7th feels kind of weird, but that's only because they just don't have room for him higher up in the lineup. All right, when you got Hoskins, Harper, Real Muto, and Gregorius batting 2 through 5, it's really hard to squeeze Segura in there. Though he could be in there, and plus, as I mentioned before, a couple of those guys have issues with the injury bug. Segura may end up getting put in one of those slots later on down the road. And batting 8th, Scott Kingery, center field. He hits pretty well for bottom of the lineup, pitching spot notwithstanding. Seriously, you're looking at a 280 hitter. You don't expect that for a guy batting 8th in the lineup. So, assuming it stays healthy, which there's no guarantee that's going to happen, Philly's got a very, very strong lineup. One that can compete with most teams. But I just don't buy this lineup staying healthy. Any one of those guys gets hurt, and they're going to be hurting. Offensively speaking. Their rotation, look, I'm just going to go ahead and get this out of the way. Aaron Nola, he's usually in the conversation for a Cy Young Award, and it's well-deserved. And he truly is an ace. You put him anywhere in pretty much any rotation, and you're going to expect him to be at the top of the rotation. Honestly, you put him in the Nationals rotation, and you could probably see him competing with Scherzer for being the one guy. So, yeah, Aaron Nola is right where he should be. After that, however, it gets kind of for the rest of their rotation, because you got number 2 is Zach Wheeler. So when I looked him up, he's not bad, but he should be about third in a rotation. He should not be second. He hasn't pitched particularly bad. I think when he was a Met, he suffered from just the Mets not being able to get it together. You know, they haven't necessarily had like the strongest bullpen, and their offense hasn't always been there. When it is there, you know, it's there, but it's not always on point like it should be. So now he's in Philly, he'll have a bit more run support. Maybe that'll help him a bit, but he's not the best, and he should be about third. Whereas third in the rotation is Zach Eflin. He's a guy you'd expect to be fourth. It's not... He could have a decent season, but you want your 3 guy to be competitive with your 2, and your 2 guy to try to match with your 1, and it's just not looking like that. 2 and 3 are both guys that should be competing for the 3 spot in the rotation, not the 2. Fourth in the rotation, Matt Moore. This is an interesting case. So, from I think it was 2010 until 2014, with the Rays, lights out. Pitched great. He was a hidden gem. Since 2015, he's just fallen off the face of the earth. You look at his record, it's not just the record, like his ERA, everything. It's like it just died. Realistically, I'd put him in the bullpen now. I wouldn't make him a starter. Try and make him a long reliever if you can, if you need to have a bullpen day, but I would not make him a starter. And their 5 guy, Chase Anderson, he's inconsistent by season. He could have a season where he throws a 3.2 to 3.5-ish ERA. Next season he throws a 5. You don't really know what you're going to get. So, realistically, you're looking at a rotation with an ace and everyone else. So, really, I wouldn't bet on this team. Their closer, Archie Bradley, is decent. Made a name for himself in Arizona, but he's not great. He had 18 saves in 2019 for the Diamondbacks. And a couple of seasons, he did pitch pretty well as a consistent bullpen pitcher. But he hasn't gotten better as the years have gone on. It's actually kind of gotten worse. So, as far as the closer goes, maybe, but Then for the rest of their bullpen, Hector Neris, Samuel Coonrod, I think that's how you say his name, and Brandon Kinsler. Brandon Kinsler is pretty good. He actually is a solid reliever. You wouldn't necessarily want to use him as a closer because it's not really his thing, but he is a consistent reliever. So actually, he is the kind of guy you would want. Neris and Coonrod, on the other hand, not really so much. They're also pretty inconsistent, and you don't really know what you're going to get. So, really, as far as the Phillies are concerned, if they're healthy, they got a pretty stacked offense. On paper, it looks really good. Their pitching staff, even on paper, does not look good. I personally would not want to field this team. I mentioned that the Marlins could be a surprise team this year. Don't be surprised if the Marlins jump the Phillies. I mean that. the Marlins may not have the name talent, but they've got the raw talent that actually could compete for fourth in the division, and they could jump the Phillies. Don't be surprised if Philadelphia finishes last in a year where they're hoping for like sky-high expectations. I fully expect the Phillies to disappoint. If anyone's got any hope for them, don't. At least that's how I feel about it. And if you want to tell me how you're feeling about the Phillies, you can do so in the comments down below. Or if you're listening on my podcast, you can let me know on Instagram. Or you can come check out my video. YouTube channel's the same name. My Instagram is Adamo_baseball. So, with that being said, thank you for listening. Cheers until next time.